All right, so if panelists can turn back on your videos, we have a couple of attendees in the room with us, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm sure some other folks will be joining as class change happens and everything for synchronous classes. But welcome to our first event for our National Transfer Student Week. We have an awesome panel of UNCW alumni who were transfer students to talk a little bit about their experience. So my name is Carrie West. I am a coordinator in transition programs, and I get to work with the Tilbridge Transfer Student Program and the mentors. So we host events throughout the year for transfer students, and we're excited to kick off, like I said, National Transfer Student Week this week. So today we have with us three panelists, Carson Banks, who is a former Tilbridge mentor and orientation leader. We have Sarah Nance, who is a former Tilbridge mentor, and Dean Heath, who is a former transfer student and a current employee at UNCW. So I'm going to turn it over to them if they will each just share a little bit more about themselves and introduce yourselves. Carson, do you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you again for having me. Excited to be here. I don't love that I can't see people that are attending, but that's fine. Like she said, my name is Carson Banks. Graduated from UNCW in 2017. I transferred to UNCW during my sophomore year. So I did my freshman year at another four-year institution in North Carolina, and then transferred sophomore year. And I currently live in Atlanta. I'm working at Emory University with leadership and transition programs. So I really took the higher ed route after transitioning to UNCW. And my transfer experience is kind of what led me to where I am, and I'll talk a little bit about that later on. But currently working with leadership and transition programs here, and I've been here for a little over a year now in Atlanta.
Awesome. Thanks, Carson. We might have lost Dean to internet connection for a second. So Sarah, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi guys, I'm Sarah. Thanks again for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk to you all. I went to UNCW. I transitioned, I believe in 2016. I went from a community college. I had my associate, so it made it a really smooth process for me. But graduated in 2018. I ended up staying one more year for the international MBA program, and later left for England to finish that up. And now I'm living in Austin, Texas. I'm a pilot and I'm in training for American Airlines. And yeah, just having a great time.
Awesome. Uh-oh, we might have lost Dean. He'll come back hopefully. He said he might have some internet issues. So while we wait for him to come back, for today's panel, we have some planned questions to get us kind of started. But I encourage you to look at your kind of options bar in Zoom. There's a Q&A button, and you open that up and you can type in a question to the panel that we can ask live. So I encourage you to check that out. So for our first question, you guys briefly talked about where you transferred from to come to UNCW. Can you share a little bit more about what school you transferred from and also why you chose UNCW?
I can start. I started out at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina, and ECU was just the most affordable option for me at the time. It allowed me to live at home, and I was a commuter student during my freshman year. And I also think that that's kind of what led to some of my challenges during my freshman year. So I had a really hard time connecting to the campus community. Couldn't really find my niche. I couldn't find my group. And then I also decided that I wanted to major in film studies. And so the film program at UNCW really stood out to me. Living at the beach was a huge plus. And so I also was looking for a smaller community and just a smaller school than ECU. So I just started looking into the film program. I felt like if I told my parents I was transferring for film, it was going to be a little bit easier than saying I don't have friends and I want to transfer to make friends. And so that was kind of the route that I went. But yeah, there was a lot that went into it. But the film program and then just looking for a smaller school because I didn't have a great time my freshman year at ECU. Nothing on the institution, just wasn't my place.
Sarah, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I started out at community college, and kind of what led me into that was in high school, I took college classes, and I obtained a few like scholarships for community college. So it's just like an easy transition, going directly there. Once I finished up, I was in between Carolina and UNCW, but the business program at UNCW really stood out because I wanted to do marketing, and they had, you could do professional selling, or I believe it was marketing strategy, something like that. And that was like a perfect fit for me. Even so, to like when I went to England, and I worked for a company there, they told me, they were like, I've never seen a degree so specialized before. And that's what caught our attention. And like that led to a sponsorship of visa. So just like UNCW overall and all that they had to offer, and like Carson said, like being at the beach and just the environment was like so welcoming. Like I just felt like at home from day one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, your degree does sound pretty cool. And getting to go to London sounds awesome. Dean, I asked, where did you, if you can share a little bit of where you transferred from and why did you choose to come to UNCW?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Dean Heath, and I transferred from Cape Fear Community College during actually at the very beginning of my junior year. So I was able to transfer in all of my gen ed classes, and it was a fairly simple process. I always wanted to go to UNCW, and while UNCW was my first choice, I was not UNCW's first choice. But I knew this is where I wanted to be, so I did what it took, and it all worked out. Saved a little money, got a great education. I didn't go to London, but I had a great experience regardless. I too was a business major, also marketing. But back when I went to UNCW for my undergrad, there was not a differentiation between two different marketing options. There was just marketing. So I graduated with my undergrad in 2006, but I used my degree to get a job actually at the community college, and my machine's telling me that my connection is unstable. If I pop out again, I apologize so much.
You're still doing okay.
But I used my degree to get a job actually back at the community college that I graduated from, and I started working with students, and I realized that my passion was not in numbers and statistics and business and graphics, like my business background may have alluded to, but my passion is in students. So while I was at the community college, I came back to UNCW, to the Watson College of Education, and I got my
Oh, it's like a cliffhanger. See if he comes back. Dean, I think we lost you for a second. I think you were sharing what your master's is in.
technology.
Oh man, technology is never our friend when we need it, right? Just waiting to see if he would come back.
Than it before the pandemic began, but this is a degree.
Again, like bits and pieces, and I don't think he can hear me either. Oh, we lost him. So this is what's fun about the last couple of months and learning how to use Zoom and technology. And we always think Wi-Fi is great until it's not, right?
I am so sorry. I imagine you guys have picked up and moved on. So just come back to me next time.
Right. We heard some bits and pieces of that. It broke off when you started talking about your master's degree.
So I'm actually working on another master's degree now in instructional technology. And the thought process is there's never enough information. I can always learn something new. But specifically with the pandemic going on, what I'm learning now will benefit myself and my students for months and years and decades. So if you have an interest in learning something, there's always a way to get that information. So sorry for the delay.
It's okay. I'm glad we waited for that little piece of advice. So the next question kind of is, if you think back to your first semester, your first year at UNCW, what piece of advice would you give yourself? I like the contemplation that's happening right now.
Do you mind if I go first? All right. So when I was in my undergrad, I was also working an extraordinarily huge number of hours every week, and it was too much. And that was important because I had to have a roof over my head. I had to have food on the table. But if I could tell myself from my first semester at UNCW, a couple of little tidbits, a few things that would benefit me would be to get involved more. I didn't have that involvement at the community college, and I just took that same mentality from the community college to the university and decided, that it wasn't as important. And that's something that truly would have benefited me during my undergrad experience, to the point where when I enrolled in my first graduate program, I said, listen, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to do things. I'm going to get involved in the honor society. I'm going to go to movies on campus. And it truly did enhance my experience. So if I could tell myself any one bit of advice, it would be to sleep more. But apart from that, it would be to get involved. Go to the involvement carnival. Find 3 or 4 things that could benefit me in the future.
Sleep is always a good piece of advice for college students. Carson or Sarah, one of you want to go next?
I think, so I was really hoping to sort of recreate the freshman experience that I had always hoped to have. But I think at the time it wasn't really going to be affordable for me to live on campus. But had I known what I was getting into by living off campus and just how expensive that is too, and had I really thought about the numbers, I should have lived on campus. And again, I transferred during my sophomore year, so I think having that experience of living on campus would have helped me a little bit. I got connected with orientation by the middle of my first semester. But until then, I really struggled to find people and to make friends because I was living off campus. And while I could walk to campus, I was really fortunate in that I wasn't really having to commute very far. I think it made it more difficult because I didn't have those organic interactions and I would kind of have to find them on my own. And so luckily became an orientation leader by the end of my first semester. And that's when it really started for me in terms of finding a community and finding groups and stuff. But I think living on campus would have probably solved that a lot sooner for me had I chose to do that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you and Sarah had seen, Dean, you've probably seen the new buildings that are being built on the backside of campus, the 2 new res halls that came online this fall and 2 more for next fall. So I think more transfer students in the future are going to get the opportunity to live on campus, which is exciting.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's really cool. But going off of my experience, I kind of agree with Carson. I think it would have been cool to live on campus and maybe have the opportunity to possibly meet more people. But I will say I got involved pretty early on with Tilbridge, and looking back, that probably made the most impact on my experience. That was the great bulk of my friends. Even to this day, I still talk to a lot of people I met through Tilbridge. They're just some incredible people, and I'm really thankful for that experience. And I think, just get more involved, really put yourself out there. I think it's really hard transferring in and not knowing a single person, and that was the case for me. So the Involvement Carnival, that's a really great event. And I didn't really meet that many people in my classes looking back. I still to this day, don't have that many friends from classes. So it's really the outside stuff to me that matters.
Yeah. I think that's what I hear over and over again from transfers is the class side of things they can handle. They're adjusting to that. They've got it down. It's more of the social, especially this semester with so many things being virtual. It's how do I meet friends? How do I make those kind of lifelong friends, Sarah, that you're talking about? That can be a little bit harder and it can take a little bit longer, especially in a virtual world like we're living in. So my next question is, and I want to remind the participants, if you use the Q&A function, put a question in there for the panel, use the button at the bottom of your screen. But our next question is, what did you do during your time at UNCW? And some of you have already touched on a couple things you got involved in, but what did you do during your time at UNCW that helped prepare you for your next step? Whether it was working, whether it was grad school, what did that look like for you?
So after becoming an orientation leader, that's like when I learned about all of the things that exist at UNCW. And then that's when I like started interning with Campus Life. I worked with Sharkies for a little bit. I worked with the Dean Advisory Council, Honor Council. I did a lot. I did a little too much probably. And then that's when it was through doing those things that I became really connected to just the staff at UNCW, and the staff through transitions programs, and learned that like you can do this for a living. And so it was the experiences of, welcoming new freshmen, my experiences through Teal Bridge as a Teal Bridge mentor. I became just really passionate about supporting students, engaging with students in that way. And so I learned that higher education was an option. And it was through the relationships that I built with the staff at UNCW, that I learned, how to navigate the grad school search. I ended up going to Florida State for grad school and mastering in higher education there. And then I stuck with transition programs based off my experience working with transition programs at UNCW. So it was really those involvement experiences, the leadership experiences, but especially connecting with the staff there that sort of helped steer me into the direction that I took post-grad.
Yeah, and I think that's so many of our stories in higher ed is we just kind of stumbled into it. We didn't realize it was a thing kind of until someone told us. But I think overall in college, I think there's an opportunity for that you think you're starting with this major, you're going to get this job, but you don't know what, the next 5 years is really going to hold and where you could end up. Sarah or Dean, one of you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll just throw out there like I didn't get it as involved as Carson did, and I'm kind of envious of that looking back. I wish I would have known more about those opportunities, and really put myself out there. Looking back, I kind of hate that I was a transfer student because I wish I would have had all 4 years to really get in and get involved. But anyways, I did work on the campus rec center. Is that what it's called? The recreation center. I worked there for a little while, and I did have an internship through the State Employees Credit Union, which was good for me. And there was a few other like small organizations off of campus, like Plastic Ocean Project, where we would like pick up trash at the beach and stuff. So I'm thankful for that. But once again, like Carson, I wish I would have got more involved.
Yeah, I didn't get as involved as I would have preferred. I actually had a lot of friends that were attending UNCW while I was at the community college. So I actually had kind of a group established. They graduated a semester ahead of me, but I think going back to something Carson mentioned, the networking opportunities that you have on campus, getting involved with the faculty is kind of what made a difference for me. There are faculty members that I'll still see in WAG, or we'll bump into each other walking down Chancellor's Walk. And I don't know if they really remembered me the first time we reconnected, but they seemed to, which made me feel pretty good. But it was those relationships that helped me propel myself over to that next level. I was working in college. I wanted to work my way up into that job where I was going to make $1 billion. That's what business-minded people think, right? But I ended up going into educational sales, and from that, I ended up at the community college because they were one of my clients, and they said, "Listen, we've got this job in student affairs, and we think you'd be great at it, and we want you to apply." So I did. And I realized I wasn't going to be making $1 billion, but I was happy. And I was able to do something to make other people's lives a little easier. They got the information that I wish I had had when I was in their shoes. So it's not about the end goal of making that $1 billion. It's about what makes you happy. And it's about making other people happy. And that's what working in a university allows me to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, my follow-up kind of question is, you and Carson both kind of mentioned those relationships. So can you talk a little bit more about how you benefited from those relationships with faculty and staff, and how important were they in college and then now in your life after college?
Thinking back to just the relationships with faculty, I think, so I was a film studies major and transferred specifically for that, but then added philosophy as a second major because of the relationships I developed with faculty by just taking some like not prereq, the courses you have to take. What are they called?
Gen Ed, University
Gen
Studies.
Ed. I took like a philosophy 101 course to get one of my humanities checked off, and loved the professor. Started talking to him about what it would be like to major in that, and then discovered a whole world of courses that I would have never considered taking. And so not only did I add a second major based off of relationships with faculty, but I learned like what I wanted to focus on as a film studies major as well. And I took the critical studies route instead of the production route. I didn't even know that was going to be an option for me until I, connected with faculty in that way. And then it was through those relationships, because higher education really didn't have anything to do with what I majored in at UNCW. But by having relationships with faculty and having conversations about what I thought I wanted to pursue, what I thought I wanted to do next, they were able to help me make the connections between what I was studying there and how it would apply later, how to leverage those experiences when I was applying for grad school. And then even after grad school, being removed from UNCW for 2 years, invited me back to come and visit before I started my job search process. At the time, VCPL, Pat Leonard, she helped me through my entire job search process. And we had only met, in person a few times, but she remembered me. That connection was important and brought me back while I was job searching. So the people at UNCW, the faculty, the staff, they want to see you succeed. Most of them are there because of their experiences prior, where they had a good mentor or someone that really helped them, sort of like Dean was talking about. And so using those experiences to, and those connections, those relationships, to sort of see what other options are out there for you. That's what I did, and it really helped me.
Pat was very special to this campus. She passed away after a battle with cancer in June, but has a significant impact on students and staff and faculty that have worked here she worked here for almost 40 years. So she has a significant impact on our campus. Sarah, were you getting ready to go?
I'm sorry. And just in terms of adding to that. Yeah, sorry, I zoned out. So for me, one thing I forgot to mention was Cameron Executive Network. That really opened a lot of doors for me. I ended up getting matched with a guy who flew for the Marine Corps at one time, and then he retired. And lo and behold, now I'm flying. And he really helped me find that pathway to get into this. And even like what Carson was saying and everyone else, the staff is really truly there to help you. They're not just there for a paycheck, and it's pretty evident. Whether it's writing a letter of recommendation or whatever it is to help you get to that next step, they're really there for you. And I saw that even as I was making the transition from undergrad to grad school. They were there every step of the way. Even if they don't really remember you, they at least act like they do, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to help you. So,
yeah, thanks.
So I mentioned that the faculty had a big impact on me. Moving forward past my undergrad experience, moving past it, but looking back at it, every interview you go to, every application you fill out, they want to know who your references are. And the people who you can put on this need to be somebody more than just somebody that can say, yeah, they were in my class, but I don't remember who they were. So you want to make sure you stand out with these folks, because if a faculty member takes the time to write you a recommendation letter, it's not a cookie cutter recommendation letter. They may have a few things they typically will write in a letter, but it's going to be a letter about you. And just make sure that you get to know them as an individual rather than just as a person in their class. Make sure that you have meaningful things that they can recall about you. And 20 years down the line, they're not going to remember all of those individual things, but they'll remember you as an individual, or at least make you think they do. But then in graduate school, I had amazing faculty professors as well. And each time I've applied for a job, and I've only had a few, but each time I've applied for a job, I've used the same few people on all of my applications to as references. And I'm still in contact with most of these faculty members, not just because we're colleagues now, but because they're fantastic people and they're doing incredible research on things that are very relevant right now. But you can be a resource for them just like they can be a resource for you. So make sure that you get to know your faculty members, take an interest in what they're doing research in. If you're curious about whatever topic that they're doing research on, ask them about it. They'll love it. But that's a two-way street. You can be valuable to them and they can be valuable to you.
Yeah, I think it's similar to what we were talking about earlier with friends and social groups. Is you have to put yourself out there sometimes a little bit to find those. And I think it's similar with faculty and staff. You put yourself out there, you build a relationship with them. It's not just a one-time thing. It's a continual relationship to build with them so that they recognize not just your name, but what you've kind of done and achieved at UNCW. I want to ask Carson and Sarah, because you both were Tilbridge mentors. Why did you apply and why did you want to be a mentor? I know at least one attendee I've had an initial conversation with about applying to be a mentor. So I'm just curious about both of your perspectives.
Yeah, so for me, it was, I think I saw how it shaped my experience so early on in the beginning, and I didn't want to lose those connections. I didn't want to be removed from Tilbridge. Not that they would throw me out, but like I wanted to stay in that small circle of friends and meeting more people as they came in. And most of my people that I started with my first semester, they went on to be Tilbridge mentors. I think at least 3 or 4 of us did. And so then we were like meeting and being like, hey, what do you want to do with our mentees tonight? Like, let's get together. Like, let's combine the group so they can make even more friends. And I'm still friends with those people now that I was mentors with. So that was a big reasoning for me, just staying involved.
So I actually didn't know that Tilbridge existed until I started doing orientation as an orientation leader. And so I was like telling transfer students through orientation about Tilbridge. And I was like, wait a minute, why am I not plugged into Tilbridge myself? And so it was just through those interactions that I had with students at orientation as like their orientation leader, I realized, the transition can be pretty difficult. And especially at UNCW, transfer students are all over the spectrum. I mean, from, typical college age to adult learners, people coming from community college, people coming from four-year institutions, people who took a gap year, I mean, all over the place. And so recognizing that like that experience is not the same for everyone, and that, we all needed a certain level of support during that time, and just different things. So I think learning that at orientation led me to want to, kind of give back, because my transition was smooth. I had a great experience. I was able to get connected during that first semester, but I saw that, that was not so much the case for everybody. And so Tilbridge, provided that opportunity for so many people. And then just doing it my first year, I ended up doing it, I guess all 3 years or 2 years that I was there. And yeah, I mean, every connection that I made through Tilbridge, I still keep up with half of them. We're still Facebook friends that check in on each other. So highly recommend it if you're thinking about it.
Awesome. Thank you for the free publicity there. So we don't have any other questions in our Q&A. So I'm just curious, do you have any final thoughts, final pieces of advice, anything you would share with our current transfer students?
One thing I forgot to add earlier, mention was really getting involved on social media, like following different UNCW accounts. That definitely helped me, like following Tilbridge, UNCW weekends. And a lot of times once you follow one, it will show a lot more. But that was one way that I found out about a lot of different things. And UNCW weekends, I did a ton of stuff with them because it's cheap. It's like at good times where everyone can go. You can even bring a friend a lot of times. So yeah, definitely check that out.
I would say that if you're interested in like a specific subject, if you're interested in research in a certain area, or even if you're interested in like a certain field of like work, there will be someone at UNCW that specializes in that area that is really well versed in that area. And just sending them a cold email and saying like, hey, I saw you on UNCW's website. I noticed that you study X, Y, or Z, or that you work in this industry. Just looking to like learn more. That is how you will build those relationships that we've been talking about. I think everyone at UNCW that I met was really open to getting to know a new student. Even if you don't have a class with them, like that is okay. They are more than willing to work with you, to talk to you, to just have a conversation about your interests. And then that's the type of connection that can change your entire trajectory. It can change your major. It can change what you end up doing later on. And so, just reach out to people that you're interested in getting to know, whether that's faculty, staff, or just even other students. Because again, those connections will be what could transform your entire experience. And they're always open. I mean, the community at UNCW is incredible. I miss it every day. And so utilize it and then take advantage of it while you're there for sure.
Looking back, I wish as a transfer student, I would have gone to the dining hall more. I wish I would have gone to Dub's Cafe more. I wish I would have gone to the rec center more, but these were areas of campus that I didn't know about. I knew there was a dining hall, but when you go inside, it's huge. Where do I go to get the silverware? Where do I put my stuff at the end? There's a procedure that as a transfer student, you probably don't know about. So everybody is friendly. Walk in, say hello. I'd love to get a cheeseburger. Where do I go for that? And somebody will help you. Go into the rec center. Once you've got your one card, it's very easy. Well, right now there's a few extra procedures, but typically it's very easy to go in and hop on a pickup game of basketball, or you get somebody to spot you if you're lifting, or they have classes that you can take, and it's free. You just take part. Go into the library. Tell somebody, listen, I'm new to UNCW. I've been at a community college. I've been at this university. I'm new to UNCW. Show me where the materials are that I might need for my program. Also, our library has a really cool digital makerspace with 3D printers and virtual reality. It's really cool. But if you're like me and you like books on, well, I guess they're not called books on tape anymore, but if you like to listen to books, they have a great section of CDs with books on them. Just download them to your iTunes or whatever. But make sure you're taking full advantage. If you're curious about an opportunity, ask. Students are willing to help you. Faculty and staff are willing to help you. Just ask.
Yeah, Carson, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, meal plan was the best decision I ever made. I didn't think it was gonna be worth it at the time, but if it's an option for you, look into it, because that is actually how I built relationships with people. It was just like the casual, we're in the same place every day kind of thing, and let's grab lunch together. One of the best decisions that I made was just grabbing a meal plan, so that that is how you sort of invest yourself in the entire UNCW experience. And then half of the things that Dean mentioned, you're already paying for. So use them because you're paying for them already. And then I was going to add, the library was like probably one of my favorite places just to like stay and do my homework. I had the option to go back home to do most of my work, but if I was able to, I spent my time on campus, because I learned that the hard way by not doing that my first year. And as soon as I started to just spend more and more time on campus, more relationships happened. I made more friends. I learned about more opportunities. I did better in my classes. So just spend your time there when and if you're able to. Obviously, right now, everything is different. I've been working from my bedroom since March. But when things return to some form of normalcy, really spend your time on campus if you can.
Carson, I actually have a meal plan right now as a staff member. Yeah, it's just so good.
Yep. One day if I'm ever back at UNCW and working there, I will do the same for sure.
Yes, I was having a conversation with someone the other day actually about just the free kind of, I don't know if it's free because you are paying student fees for it, but the things that you can take advantage of while you're in college that after college you're going to have to pay for. Like a nutritionist that's down in the student rec center, you can schedule a meeting with her for free. The classes that one of y'all mentioned in the rec center, you're going to pay for that, and a gym membership later. Counseling services, like all of these things that you have to take advantage of, but you have to know that they exist first, right, to take advantage of them. But take advantage.
I was going to add one more thing. So all of the things that Dean mentioned as well, if you're like me and I was hesitant to do those things on my own, Teal Bridge will give you the opportunity to do them with another person. And so that's another reason to get connected with the Teal Bridge Mentor Program is, if you just need someone that either knows a little bit more than you or just another student that is also joining the program so that they can get connected as well, that'll give you that person to walk with you to the library, to study with, to grab lunch with. Because yes, there are so many things that you should take advantage of, but it's helpful to have, at least one person to go to those places with you, especially if you're trying to explore for the first time. So I know that can be difficult, and I know that it can be daunting at first. But Teal Bridge would be a great way to just have that person or group of people to explore those places with, and to do those things with for sure.
Well, I cannot say thank you enough before we log off here. Just thank you to the three of you for taking time out of your day or answering a random Facebook message, asking you to do something like this, or Dean in a meeting volunteering last week. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your experiences and your advice to our transfer students. If you're listening right now, I just want to encourage you to follow Teal Bridge on Instagram. That's a great way to find out about things that are coming up. Especially this week is National Transfer Student Week. So tomorrow we are doing a transfer trivia. You can test all of your UNCW knowledge and try to win some prizes and meet some other transfers. And we have events on Wednesday and Thursday as well. So I hope to see you again, and check out Wavelink or the Quark app to find all of the events that are happening on campus. And if they're in person or if they're virtual, that's the best way to kind of get involved and get connected. So again, I'm going to end this. Thank you, the three of you, so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.